Hello again. Part 2 of 2 sessions back to back tonight. I am going to share this into different groups. One moment, please. Shortly. If you're joining me tonight and you are a new vibration plate user, I will post when I get back to my computer tonight, I'll post some links to some of my more recommended sessions, especially if you are a new user. Do not think go slow. Use short sessions more often, especially if you're dealing with symptoms or symptom management type applications. Okay. There we are. Okay. One moment, please. Perfect. Okay. So the earlier session at 6 p.m. this evening was more based on balance. When you're looking at increasing strength, bone density, weight loss, long-term physical changes. I always like to talk about long versus short-term benefits, and bone density can be, kind of a mid to long-term benefit. Research and studies aside, there's thousands, probably hundreds of thousands at this point of people that are saying, hey, you know what, my DEXA scans up. Hey, you know what, my bone density, blah, blah. There's lots of positive feedback. And really the biggest key with bone density, any of the fitness results to a degree, is consistent use. Bone density isn't one thing that you do. It isn't one setting. Bone density, our bones themselves, are living tissue, and they're going to adapt to the demands that we place upon them. So if we do very little, we're going to see minimal or little changes to the bones, the muscles, the weight. If we place more demands, if we push a little bit harder, if we add more weight, if we demand more of our body and do more, the bones, the muscles will return to and adapt to the behaviors that we're imposing upon them. So we are going to, the best way to improve bone density besides being consistent in your use is weight bearing. So if you are in a place where you're not quite able to bear weight, you are just returning to weight bearing exercise for whatever reason, you may want to employ starting seated. You're going to expose less or reduce the amount of body weight that you're putting into the equation. For those of you that are new users tuning in perhaps for the first time, my feet are not at the outer edges of the plate. You're always in control. Oscillating is a fabulous and primary movement of whole body vibration. Your body's balance and proprioception will improve within seconds of standing upon this plate. You don't need to take on excessive amplitude or intensity. And if you are dealing with health issues of any kind, I recommend being conservative in your intensity, but being a little bit, you can bring the speed up a little bit. This slow start mentality has to go out the window. In oscillating movement, not vertical or lineal or pulsation, in oscillating movement, you'll find as you get going a little faster, it's a little smoother, it's a little more soothing. The slower speeds are more choppy, destabilizing, and they are great for balance. But if your balance is poor, I want to improve it. I don't really want to challenge it yet. So let's use the natural effects that this type of movement presents just by standing on the plate, Debby rambling for 30 seconds. You should feel more grounded and stable. So as a warm-up, all you really need is about 15 to 20 seconds. Get the blood moving, get the circulation going. If you're feeling it too much above the collarbone into the neck, the head, the ears, the teeth, the eyes, you're standing taller. And the taller you stand, the more the resonance, the movement of the vibration travels upward. If you're standing wide, it intensifies it even further, and you want to clench and fight and resist. I want you to relax, not resist. Bring those feet a little closer. Knees are soft. And our first exercise is going to be called a pelvic tilt. A pelvic tilt is just a nice little movement. Now that we're grounded, our pelvis should be in a neutral position. By increasing some movement and flexibility in this region, it's going to present better range of motion for some of the other exercises we'll be progressing to. So our warm-up being just standing here with our knees slightly bent. You'll notice in the mirror, I want you to, with your pelvis, tilt it forward. Clench those butt cheeks on the way forward. Okay, you might only be moving an inch or two. Then we're going to tilt that pelvis backwards. We're not doing this. We're just tilting. I'm going to stand this way so you can see. Oh, I hit the button as I moved. You're going to tilt forward, clench and hold for 2 to 3 seconds, tilt backwards. So depending on your range of motion, okay? Now I got to start over again. Oops. Okay. Okay, I did it again. Okay. So I would like to say 15 to 30 seconds. This entire routine, doesn't need to be more than 3 to 5 minutes. Time this with your breathing. Did you see how I wobbled there? Make sure you're good and grounded if you are using a mini, especially if you're dealing with balance issues. So the heel is the majority of the focal point of your weight. And you're maybe doing a total of 10 to 15 reps. You might want to slow that down, incorporate some nice deep breathing exercises. Okay. The next exercise is going to be a variation on an exercise we did in the previous session, which is some weight shifts. So weight shifts, you can put your hands on your hips. You can put them beside you, whatever feels more comfortable. But we're just going to move our weight, keeping that heel holding 70 to 80% of your mass. Knee is slightly bent. Shift over. Do about 2 to 3 reps of this. And what we'll do to make this a little bit more challenging, as I said, the bones, we're bearing mass the whole time. But if we require the muscles to do more, if we trick the body into doing more, the body's going to return more. Better muscle, stronger bones, more osteoblasts. So we can just continue to shift weight, or we can increase what we're doing. So we're going to shift over, starting on my left side, perhaps your right, and just bend down a little bit. Put a little more mass into that quad and count down from 3. Stand up, over, same thing, a little bit more mass. Keep those hips nice and level. 3, 2, 1, up, shift over, come back down. 3, 2, 1. Instead of doing a fluid movement, you'll notice with static exercises, it's much more comfortable if you're dealing with arthritic joints, inflammation, and you can really hone in good posture, chest is back. You can really feel where the muscles are being activated. Okay. With the weight vest, I've got an additional 15 pounds on. I can feel that my muscles are also bearing more mass. I'm going to burn more calories. Okay. So we're going to step off the plate, get a little bit more functional, challenge the balance a little bit, and add some mass one side at a time. We're going to do some very slow. The reason I stay slow is we are dealing with a smaller, more compact model. If you got a Rumblex, Turbo, Hovert, something with more movement, will have more motors, a different motor for each movement. So they tend to be larger and heavier. The compacts primarily are the functional movement, oscillating, but they are lighter, smaller. They're not really fitness machines, but you got to start where you got to start. I just want to give you some safety tips if you are using a smaller model. So start with your good side, whatever that may be. I'm going to step up to the left, up, back, down. Okay, I want you to get a feel for this. We're stepping into the same position we were. Feet are just offset, maybe 2 to 3 inches apart in total. We want to have good posture. Okay, if you feel coordinated enough, the more you demand of the body, the more it will return. Maybe you've got some weights. You've got some of those adjustable weights. You got a dumbbell. And if you feel comfortable, you want a little bit more challenge, increasing your pace is fine as long as you feel the stability is there. Okay? 30 seconds to a minute on this. If you're dealing with more, you want more cardio effect, you may extend that a little bit longer. Okay? Probably 15 to 20 steps. Okay? If that's uncomfortable, and sometimes if the balance isn't there, the stepping backwards isn't there, you may want to put the flex step, an aerobic step, in behind the plate, so you're stepping on the same surface. Or another variation, if you find the stepping backwards is scary. Step off, turn around, step down, turn around. You know, whatever feels comfortable. You're still moving. You're still bearing weight, okay? The next one we're going to do is kind of the final push. So we started with just a standing warm-up with the vest. Incorporating more mass is a great trick to, you know, boost that bone density, the strength, the calorie burn. We progressed to some pelvic tilts to warm this area up to increase the range of motion for our weight shifts. Okay, 30 seconds to a minute on each of these. We did some step ups. Our last was kind of like our final push. And one of my favorite ways to universally apply a lot of benefits is the simple one position of the squat. So we're going to do like a super squat. So what the super squat looks like for you depends on your range of motion, your balance, and really why you're using the plate at the time. Some of you might just, you know, be using it to fire up the legs before you go to bed to get rid of that restless leg. For some of you, you're here to work and it's your workout. So I want you just within your range of motion, going as deep as you can. Make sure that you're not, you know, favoring one side over the other. You feel good and balanced. Pelvis is tilted back. We're not like, you know, just leaning over and looking like we're, keep that slouch away. Okay, hold. You should feel a burn. Things should be building. The load is increasing. And one of the ways that you can, if you want to do a little bit more upper body, you know, you can put your arms out, you can cross them. The more you extend, the more gravity is pushing down on this mass. You're trying to keep stable at the same time of this environment shaking you back and forth. So how a vibration plate increases bone density is it increases exercise effects. It exercises more muscles in less time. And when you're dealing with chronic issues, reducing exercise time on those bad joints, those aches and pains, getting those muscles to a level of fatigue faster is beneficial. And it tends to be easier to stick with the consistency piece if it's pleasurable and it's a little bit quicker to do. So keep it simple. Bone density, weight loss, whatever. You know, a lot of the reason I'm intermixing these terms is a lot of the exercises that you're doing are very similar. Squats are great for bone density. Squats are great for weight loss. Squats are great for balance and stability. Performing them on a plate just simply brings those effects to light in shorter time. And for those of you that are dealing with chronic issues, it does reduce and makes it more possible to get those muscles to a level of fatigue in comparison to, let's say, more traditional exercises. So adding mass is a super easy way to boost the bone density results. Even if you're not using a vibration plate, you know, a lot of my members, they'll use this on their walks. They'll use it just in their day-to-day around the house. And, you know, as I can't stress enough, bone, again, is a living tissue. It's going to adapt to the demands that you place upon it. So if you're just doing the bare minimum, you're going to get the bare minimum return. If your body's recovering or you're increasing your overall health, you know, be responsible in how you progress, but make sure that you're not just in a maintaining phase and just going through the motions. Sometimes the beauty of a vibration plate is you can increase those exercise effects because you don't have to just keep adding time to your workout. Many of us, time is such a valuable commodity in our lives nowadays. And I initially got into vibration plates as an option because I needed something low impact. But the benefits of, you know, I sometimes I have an hour or 2 or 3 to be active, but really I don't, as far as being structured and physically going to a gym environment and situations like that. So it's your exercise if you choose it to be, but it's an amazing symptom management tool for those of you that are on, let's say, more of a bone density or a bone healing portion in your journey. I'm looking for my glasses and I want to make sure if there are any questions. Hello, Susan. So nice to see you. Will sitting on the machine be helpful with bone density? Sitting on it directly with your bum or sitting on a chair? I'm seeing myself a little fuzzy here. Just want to make sure. Sitting on a chair or a stool is going to be kind of an initial way to get started using the plate. Sitting on it directly, you're reducing the amount of body weight. You are going to perhaps gain a little bit in the areas that are exposed, that are bearing the mass, but not, you're not going to see the same effects in the legs the lower extremities or from a total body effect. So again, you're going to get, if you're just sitting on it, you're going to see some benefits. And I can attest personally to a couple of clients using it for different reasons, seeing increases in the spine, the arms to a degree, but the legs, the hips to a degree were limited because they're not in a structure where you're bearing mass, bearing your load on the legs. So certainly I love sitting on the plate. It's probably one of my other, besides the squat, it's a big variation. I enjoy using it for back pain, constipation, toning. It's got a lot of universal uses. It wouldn't be my main go-to for bone density. I would love to see some squats or some weight bearing if possible first, and maybe that would be a recovery or an additional feel-good session for whatever reason you're performing those type of exercises. But I do enjoy, there's lots of ways that you're going to get some benefits from that exercise, but you'd want some more total body effects for the bone density piece. I hope that makes sense. And I'm pretty sure I've seen you in sessions before, Susan. So I do have some pediatrics and some elderly users that sit on the plate because it's it's a pain management tool. And I've seen, as I said, some of my clients with scoliosis, degenerative neck disease, all kinds of different reasons they're using it therapeutically and see these subtle increases because the plate does increase your exposure to gravity. And that's kind of, bone density is one of those ones where a lot of the stories, the history of vibration plates, of course, stem from. It's a matter of how to apply the tool. And everybody's different. So if there's reasons that you're sitting on a plate or you maybe got deficiencies in the legs that you're dealing with, sometimes you can train one side. So if you maybe just had a hip replacement or some work on a knee on one side, the other side's doing more of the weight bearing work anyways, it could use some attention. So you could really get creative and just think a little bit outside the box where modifications might be a possibility. Maria says, how would you use it to help with constipation? Common question. There's a couple ways that I think a vibration plate, or in the bigger general scheme of things, exercise, being active, improve. It gets that lymph flowing, primarily circulation. When we move, lymph moves. But more specifically, when you're seated on a plate, those areas, a lot of my clients with IBS, Crohn's, that suffer chronic pain or congestion issues below the waist, lymphatic issues, it just gets the movement more directly into those areas. Perhaps some Kegels, maybe some seated pelvic tilts. There's all kinds of different ways you just get that stimulation closer. There are a couple of studies, but long before there were studies, I deal with a lot of paralysis, especially with my pediatric users. And a lot of times when you're working with a 2 to 3 year old, you're not doing squats and lunges and step ups and things like that, but seating a child on a plate or an elderly person where you can assist them is generally an easy way to introduce them to the plate. And if we can get the constipation and the back and the hip pain addressed, it's also a nice way to lead into other things. So in the world of science, it is a very common symptom management tool for that reason. Also, of course, you got to make sure you're drinking your water and doing all the things that, if you are expediting and detoxifying more effectively, which is the overall bigger picture and how it helps, you got to make sure you're hydrated, nutrient dense stuff, things like that to support the activity. I hope that makes sense, Maria. But yes, it's probably, if it's a problem, it's generally one of the most, it's kind of a newbie thing. Like when you first start using, especially oscillation, that things improve. And, a lot of people comment to me once they get to know me a little bit, but you'll find when people that use plates regularly have conversations, it becomes like, oh yeah, like, I was pooping for 2 to 3 days. There's a lot of common exchanges. It's kind of a side effect. I prefer to think of it as a side benefit for some of my new users. So just something to think about. Amy says, what do you do to help lift or strengthen the pelvic floor? There's lots of different things you can do for the pelvic floor. The pelvic tilts that I did tonight are particularly awesome. If you are doing Kegels or familiar with Kegels, just like closing the eyes that I did in the previous balance session tonight, Kegels are a great thing that you could add on to a lot of your positions, especially your standing ones, and while you're seated on the plate. So that's a really easy way to help start improving, even though you may feel weak when you begin those type of exercises. By sitting on the plate directly, you're getting that stimulation more direct in those areas. Pelvic tilts, squats, lunges, bridges. If there's certain stretches or exercises that you are supposed to be doing now at home, as guided by your therapist or doc, perhaps care provider, whomever might be guiding you. If you're guiding yourself, there's all kinds of information, little hacks and tips of exercises, breathing exercises. The plate just accelerates the benefits of what you do on it. So if you've got a little routine you're doing now, it's really fun to just experiment with it on the plate and see, some stuff works and some stuff doesn't, but it certainly does increase the effects of the efforts you're making already. I hope that makes sense. A lot of my new moms, use their machines, especially if they've had experience prior, but it really amplifies recovery for lots of different reasons. And, how quickly and to what degree everyone improves, how fast, it's very much an individual thing based on your situation, but consistency is daily, a couple times a day. Nothing wrong with it for a couple, 3 minutes specifically for that. Consistent use is key with something like that too. I hope that makes sense. Outside of that, if you are joining me and you would like to ask me a question and you're typing away and it's not coming through, make sure that you're on the main Lifepro fitness page, on their public page on Facebook, and that's where the comments will come through to me. If you're watching this on a recorded basis after the fact, just tag me at Debby with a Y, and I'll be sure to get a notification that way and get an answer back to you within the next day. Typically, bone density sessions I do 2 to 3 times a year, sometimes more. It depends on how the kind of the conversations and questions I receive go. But because it is a big advertised benefit, I'd really like your help. It's in spreading. It's not this, as some of the new mechanisms, the support tools online become more digital and these types of things. A lot of it pulls numbers out of research, but doesn't really provide a lot of meaning. Oh, you need 20 hertz, or you need 15 hertz, or you need this, or you need, any type of vibration plate will increase effects, benefits to your body in the same way that being active does. What it facilitates is an easier way, a shorter way, a less effort way to be active. So like I say, whether you're using it for feel good or fitness or both, sometimes it's hard to believe that all these benefits are actually achievable. Consistent use is the key. There is no set it or forget it approach. But once you sort of experiment and learn how to use the settings on your own, you'll find there's lots of ways that you can modify and adapt if your personal situation at home improves and you want to progress, or perhaps you do have a setback and an injury or a surgery that you're recovering from. It's very rare that I personally have someone that's contraindicated. 9 times out of 10, anyone can use a vibration plate. It's a matter of how you are personally using it. Too much time, too much intensity, that often we over-exercise is what we're doing without realizing it. So if you've had a poor effect or a setback starting out, 9 times out of 10, it's too much time, too much intensity. But if you feel there's other things that you're not certain, please reach out to me and I'm happy to offer some modifications related to your own situation. Amy says, how many times a day can you do the pelvic exercises and how long per session? I did kind of address that to a degree. It depends on your own situation and sometimes life gets in the way, but a couple times a day, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't know if you have an exercise routine. I wouldn't say more is less. I don't like, I kind of feel sometimes I get backed in corners. This isn't a pill that I can give you a cookie cutter prescription. If things are improving, consistency is going to be the key, but you can overdo anything. So, start out a couple times a day for 2 to 3 minutes, specifically to that. If you're doing other vibration plate things, just add a couple of the Kegels here and there. You can always incorporate, if you're using your plate regularly now, and for general reasons, it doesn't mean you need to add another whole routine. Add some of those tips, maybe add a pelvic tilt where you're doing Kegels as one of your exercises. It doesn't need to be a big time commitment. If it's a dire situation and you're dealing with some severe symptoms, I do suggest more frequently, but in short, purposeful sessions. So it really kind of depends what's motivating you towards that specific benefit. I hope that makes sense. And I think if you've got specific benefits or conditions that you guys have questions about and you want to look at other samples of sessions, feel free to go into the VIP or the main group and just use the search function and say pelvic floor. I know for sure, for a fact, Amber and Roseanne have also done a number of sessions on pelvic floor. And sometimes variety is the spice of life. If if we all have different styles and tips, but a lot of the basics and how you use the plate and apply the tool are the same. It's more a matter of what exercises you prefer and what feels best for you. So I encourage you, Amy, and anyone else looking for specific benefits, be that pelvic floor, the bone density piece that we're talking about today. Consistency is the key. And when you kind of feel stagnant, it's not always necessarily time to go longer or more strenuous. It might be just adding a tweak, adding 5 pounds to your back, holding those Kegels longer versus, adapting in modest ways. And if simplicity is there, I find it really helps with the consistency piece. So try those out. If you're not doing those types of things now, Amy, let me know what you think. If you are dealing with something more severe and you need a little bit more specific guidance, feel free to tag me and I'll be happy to get back to you in a separate comment or privately if you prefer. For everybody else, it's Friday night. I know you have all these plans and soirees to attend. I'm going to thank you for joining me on your Friday night. I cannot believe it is the end of February already. 2 months into 2026 already. I look forward to seeing you next month. I will be back with some sessions next week. I'm enjoying the new plate. It is good value. It's got some little lights on it. It's very simplistic in its use. It's a mighty little machine. I have been enjoying it, but I do warn you, if you are looking for long-term fitness, you're a taller user, you want to incorporate some weights, you may want to stick with something a little bit larger. If budget does not allow, and you're looking at starting with something more simplistic, you can't go wrong on the price on many of Lifepro's more compact plates. But just, you can add a chair for stability and progress. For those of you looking for a second machine, what I love about a basic, simple oscillating plate is it tends to be more portable. If you are going on vacation, maybe you want to take it to the office. Maybe you just want to put it by the couch for watching the movie. There's never the perfect machine for every purpose, but the basics of how you use the plate in oscillating movement, the universal language that I speak, I just want to share that it doesn't matter what plate you're using. Any of my sessions, Amber's and Roseanne's, the moves are universal. So experiment. A variety is the spice of life. And I always say you're only limited by your imagination and your range of motion. So you guys have a great weekend, a great rest of your evening, and thank you so much for spending some time with me tonight. Don't work too hard. Have a good rest of the weekend.